off from the last time?
Yeah, we can. So this is sort of a continuation of the podcast we did before. This is Helter Skelter, and I'm here again with
Cobra.
and we started having a conversation again over a couple of beers, just like last time. We figured might as well start recording. So what should we start off with this time?
Yeah, last time we left off sort of on a note where things got cut off, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think
Sadly.
Helter Skelter was explaining sort of some of his experiences going out in Chicago. We could probably start there. I mean, we're just basically here with a few Dos Equis, is it?
Yeah.
And bag of Tostitos.
Which neither
and-
of us are sponsored by.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna get sued or something, but so yeah, maybe Helter Skelter can continue with describing some of his experiences at the holiday week in the clubs outside of Chicago
Absolutely.
or around Chicago. I mean,
Oh yeah, I remember last time I was going into talking about how I went to a bar and I was sitting in the near the bathrooms and the girls were coming over and they were talking to me and stuff, and this one girl, she's sort of maybe Asian, I don't know, she was pretty, but she goes up and she's sort of waiting at the bar and we're both waiting for beers, and I just turned to her and said, hey, I like your scarf. And then I made a comment about my scarf, and she turned to me and she started playing with mine, and then the the guy brought the beers back, and what I was going to say about that was that I let her kind of just head off without asking her, hey, let me get your numbers, hey, what do you here with somebody.
Gotcha.
And what I kind of learned, take away from that is that I need to jump on these interactions a lot more quickly when I sense them, And I was talking to somebody else recently about driving, and if you go down the road, and you have a car, I don't have a really cool car, but I've had some cool cars in the past. The car I have now is just a crummy little, it's actually a pretty nice commuter car, but it's got a turbo in it, and it has 270 something horsepower, so it has a little bit of pickup to it. It's not
that sounds good, man.
Yeah, it's fun to play around in, but it's nothing special. But I see guys driving poorly, and I see guys who are aggressive with the way they drive, but they're also able to drive safely. So the guys who are aggressive, you can see them moving confidently through traffic, and when they find an opening to sort of sneak through, if they're trying to kind of swing through traffic and try to move quickly through traffic, they move up to a car that's in front of them and quickly transition to another lane in sort of a proper manner. I'm not the best driver, so I don't really know exactly how to describe it, but I've got friends who drive really well, and I can, I've done driving before.
Are you friends with Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. Yeah, we take the Batmobile out for a spin, and I show him how to game.
Yeah.
But so anyway, it's just sort of the same thing as this analogy for driving is when you when you see an opening with a woman, you have to go right up to it and just confidently move your way through. You can't be too quickly, you can't be too quick, you can't be jamming on the brakes, you can't be freaking out because it's sort of a high pressure situation. So I thought that was kind of an interesting takeaway from that.
I think you make a great point, man. I mean, that's a great analogy too. I mean, moving in and out of traffic, and one of the things I'd say though is when you compare that to the real world, the shitty, I shouldn't say the shitty thing, but the reality of it is that you've got a lot more competition. Every once in a while there's
a lot more traffic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot more traffic. Not as much traffic. The traffic's always there, but I think the competition, at a good venue with high quality women is going to be higher, I think. And I think you've probably experienced this, and probably know about it more than I do.
Well, I've definitely experienced it, and I think you see this maybe at clubs.
Yeah, it might be a venue thing, right?
Yeah,
or type of venue.
I don't think I've seen it as much lately, and I don't really go out nearly as often as I used to. But I remember when I was in South Carolina, I was working at a few different clubs and bars around there, and there was one guy who at this one bar, and he would always try to steal my women, man.
Uh-huh.
It pissed me off so much, but I finally kind of, like sort of took a step back and was like, all right, let me study this guy's
That's
game a
pretty
little
funny.
bit.
You had like an arch nemesis.
Yeah, no, we fucking went at it, man. Like, and it turned out actually it was hilarious. I was dating this one girl, and I was so mad because her dad, who was like, everybody's divorced in the South, I guess, or has like a stepdad, so, well, that's not true. I'm just kidding. But her dad lived with this dude.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I was so mad. I was like, "Oh fuck, stay away from this dude," like stay away from my girlfriend, kind of. But but looking at this guy's game, kind of looking back at it, if you see somebody who's a good player, who's kind of coming in on your territory or whatever, he doesn't have a lot of respect or courtesy maybe, but he might be worth studying. So
absolutely.
Kind of taking a look at what he did was a way for me to kind of combat his encroachment onto my territory. But up here I don't see it as much. And in fact, when I was at the bar the other night, I saw a dude reading a book in a crowded bar at 2 a.m.
Oh, that's cool.
Come on. I mean, dude, we all know you're trying to read this fucking weird ass book just to look interesting so that girls will come up and talk to you. I mean, that's the kind of game I think that I'm seeing more when I go out is people not having this confident I'm going to approach. And I think maybe for example, I'm a little lacking in confidence sometimes when I see this whole thing about there's that stuff on the forum about girls calling guys fuck boys and all this stupid crap and the waste his time shit. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit out there, man. It just makes it more intimidating, I think, for guys to kind of get over that approach anxiety. So, which makes game even more important. We always say, game saves lives.
No, you're right. And we were just touching on this topic earlier. I think a lot of the stuff that Helter Skelter just mentioned is, related to, what it means to have fear versus what it means to be aloof. We've talked about this on the forum a little bit recently, and I think I had made a post recently to somebody questioning how sort of frame works and how you can be aloof versus fearful. And we were sitting at the table just now talking about kind of alluding back to Helter Skelter story is if you're a new person that doesn't have as much confidence, a lot of fear is going to control how you react. And it's easy for you to tell yourself that, hey, I can just ignore the girl, I'm gonna seem aloof. But these girls sense your body language. I mean, especially if you're in a bar type of setting, she's checking out everyone. I mean, you walk in, you think a girl's not checking you out. She sure is checking you out, and she's checking your body language. She's checking your frame. She's checking.
You make an impression when you come in too. The way you walk in,
right.
If you look around nervous, if you're adjusting your hair and stuff like that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, we were talking about self-confidence, and that's what it relates to. And when you walk into a bar or a club, your fear is going to show if you've got fear. It's just a body language.
You can't just do it when you're going to go approach a girl. If you're sitting over there fearfully and then you decide, I'm going to go approach.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point.
You can't just turn it on just then. You have to have it.
Exactly.
It just has to be
you
something
either
you work
have
on
it
constantly.
or you don't that night.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of guys have posted about this before, and I'm not going to name any names, but, a lot of good posts have been out there, good articles, Return of Kings and all that. How do you prepare for a night out? How do you prepare for going out? I mean, people have talked about everything from doing dips on the fucking kitchen counter.
Watching porn.
yeah, without jacking off.
Right, yeah.
So, you do that. You do some dips, push-ups. Look in the fucking mirror and tell yourself that you're great, which is actually, it's actually very helpful. And then you go out, so you get in this frame of mind where you're confident, and you walk into a club. You're that person. You're not some person that is going to turn into somebody else, 5 minutes from then where you're going to approach a girl.
Right.
So that's a great point.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things that guys, going back to what we talked about last time, is very related to self-confidence. I mean, it's something that's got to be, built over time, but
And it's a constant process, and
absolutely,
it's not just something you can turn on and off. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and there's some stuff out there too about how validation and affirmation and things like that shouldn't be the basis of your self-confidence. Your self-confidence shouldn't be tied into how you look necessarily.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be tied into how many likes you get on Facebook, because that's the sort of feminine attention whoring stuff that we're trying to kind of get away
that's
from.
for girls.
That's for women. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's straight up for chicks, man. I mean, you know, I feel like if my hair looks good,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have more confidence that night. You know, if I
Right.
feel like my hair looks, or I guess maybe more, if I feel like my hair looks stupid
Yeah.
or bad, you know, or I need a haircut or something like that, I'm gonna be self-conscious about that. It's just
Exactly.
something that, and I've talked to a few of the guys and they say, yeah, you know, my mustache or my something like that is like, you know, or
Like
something
handlebars
that.
and shit.
Right. But I think people can find all these crutches to kind of tie their confidence into, but
Yeah.
really that's just for you. That's your internal stuff,
Right.
and you don't really need that to build your confidence. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
but this is a great topic. How would you consider, or what would you say would be some of the best ways to just consistently kind of build your confidence? And I know there's a ton of stuff out there on this, you know. On
Oh
the
yeah,
forum
and I'll give
all
my,
the websites,
my
but
own
yeah.
opinion. It'd be good to hear yours too. You know, in order to build confidence, I mean, it's not. I've got to really take a step back here too, before I even talk about this, because self-confidence is something that's psychological as well as sociological. Meaning, you know, it's a mental thing. You could tell yourself all day that you're great. You know, you're alpha, you're not beta, whatever the fuck, you know. But then again, you know, you think back on it, man. I mean, you're raised by a specific set of parents, right? You're raised in a specific country, culture,
Uh-huh.
you know, with a set of values. That's also going to affect your confidence. And with some people, and I posted on this on the forum lately as well, certain cultures, whether, and I'm not talking about ethnicity, because there's a lot of subcultures in the U.S. where, you know, they value a lot of education, knowledge,
Sure.
you know, rather than like competitive sports.
Mhm.
And there was a thread on it recently about, or a thread got bumped recently regarding competitive sports.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you play competitive sports, you're competing against somebody physically. As a man, you're going to feel exhilarated. It's going to boost your testosterone.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be confident. You're gonna be able to deal with, you know, quick situations that, you know, require a quick reaction. And, you know, unless you're a male that's gone through like a military background, sports, you know, playing sports with other guys, poor neighborhoods
Mhm.
where you had to fend for yourself. You know, you come into a new environment, have to basically just learn a new language or something, and kind of grow up assimilating. That all those things will develop that type of confidence.
Right.
And, you know, when parents just push kids just to be educated,
Yeah.
you know, it's not going to develop masculine confidence exclusively. And a lot of cultures do that. Asian cultures are notorious for doing that. But, you know, a guy, even in the States though, if your parents raised you to not, you know, to respect certain things and not others, overly religious, orthodox cultures, you know, same exact thing.
Right.
And that's why single parenting is bad too, in a way, because, you know, you're not getting the type of guidance that you need.
Right.
And those people kind of have a gap in their confidence that, you know, one day they have to fix. I mean, sure, you know, those are the types of guys that, you know, kind of like us, that find the forum.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this last time, but, you know, to me, confidence is, number one, telling yourself that you are confident, but you got to transfer that into risk taking.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also going to be affected by your social programming. And if your social program is fucked up and you realize that it is, then go ahead and change it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you've got to realize how bad it is first.
That's a lot of psychology and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
there
yeah,
that
it's
goes into
maybe
it.
too much shit,
But no,
yeah.
I mean that's really good, because it's I think something that you kind of learn over time. For me, I see more questions and more struggles, not so much solutions to things. One of my biggest, questions when it comes to confidence is this thing about validation, because it's almost like success is sort of a way of saying I've been validated this many times or consistently over time.
Right.
So maybe it's more of like, where are you deriving your validation from? It's from other people, or if it's from stuff you do, like racing the clock, right?
Right.
Beating your own best time. And as a, I swam growing up, so I always had to kind of look at my own times. I was looking at other guys' times too, but I had to always constantly improve my time, because swimming is sort of an individual kind of sport. You do it with yourself, for yourself, and I had a friend who said, swimming makes you bitter because you're just sitting there thinking about all the shit in your life. But and that's a good point too, is if you choose to think about the negative, then you're going to become bitter. But if you choose to think about the positive and look at the ways you can improve on things, then you're going to be, develop that abundance mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
And so maybe I'm not going to say this for sure, but I think for now, and we love some feedback on this from anybody who wants to give it, but validation maybe is sort of an important process for confidence.
It's a very important process.
But it needs to come from the right place, and it needs to
come from the right place. And
be a healthy kind of validation.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you my experience with validation.
You want another beer?
Yeah, you know what? I'll take
let
me
go grab one real quick. But
yeah,
I can hear you, so keep talking.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep at it. Helter Skelter's jumping into his fridge for another Dos Equis, so I'll keep going. Validation, man. I mean, at the end of the day, validation can come from two different places. I mean, categorically speaking. It can come from a person, or it can come from a place, or when I say place, it could be a situation, right? So it can come from two different places. Now, when you initially think about
so like direct feedback or maybe...
Exactly.
Okay.
Direct feedback meaning, results. Actual factual results.
Right.
Shit that you can actually touch, or money that you can have, girls that you can bang.
Yeah, okay.
That's actually true, real validation, right? But at the end of the day, what's fake validation, I shouldn't say fake, but, unreal validation is when parents, like let's say an Asian parent, that is raising their kids to, be good or excel at science or math.
Right.
They're going to give them, as long as they do good in science and math, they're going to validate that shit by saying, hey, you did great. You're doing really well. You're going to grow up and find a great girl.
So they do validate you for that?
Yeah, they've
Asian and other...
certain cultures. I mean, a lot of Orthodox cultures too.
Okay.
I mean, even if they're, they don't have to be in America or whatnot, but, if they value education over anything else, they're going to value or validate education.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, this is going back to the red pill. There's the red pill and there's reality, right?
Right.
Education is not the only fucking thing that's going to get you through in life. And we all know that on the forum. I mean, we all know that in the manosphere. And anybody that's taken the red pill knows that for a fact.
Yeah. And
right?
you get these, like I have, this liberal professor that I talk to, I mostly argue with, and but in like a respectful, kind of interesting sort of way. I mean, he doesn't, we try to actually have like a legitimate conversation and try to kind of hash stuff out. We send each other articles all the time. But he's really into the studies on everything. If a study says it, if the scientists say it, it's true. And there's some really good substance behind that, because this stuff, it has been peer-reviewed and it has been looked at from a few different sources and kind of compared in a controlled scientific environment. So that's not to be sneezed at. But to say that we should only look at, our own... sort of common sense feelings on the matter is not a good way to look at it either.
Oh, it's not.
You have to have a balance. You have to have that happy medium. You have to find the, I guess, sort of the middle way when it comes down to, some things. Sometimes it's good to stand your ground on things.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's sometimes I think especially if you're trying to learn. I mean, me, I'm I'm in my late 20s. I feel like I'm still trying to learn stuff.
Mhm.
So to really stand my ground on everything is maybe not the best way for me to do that.
Yeah, I'm
But-
older than you, so I probably
Yeah.
haven't learned shit. So, here's the thing. I mean, and I'm going to try to tie this back to what we were talking about before, but, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I mean, understanding what validation is, and you're talking about facts as well, where, something from the environment is giving you some cue that says you've accomplished something versus, us just feeling good about what somebody says is right. And, that's a great debate because, at the end of the day, we can feel that, it's right to do this, it's wrong to do that. But, if you live in a place where you respect the red pill, it's going to end up being that you are going to face reality one way or the other.
Mhm.
And a great example is I think you mentioned your professor talking about certain liberal views about how people feel and
Yeah.
how things are, but you jump back into the real world and you wanna whether it's getting a job or getting I don't know your fucking driver's license or
Right, because those
renewing
studies aren't going to help
registration.
you all the time when it comes down to
No,
practical
it's
stuff.
it's
but
really not. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it's been so well experimented that
obviously, the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the better
Right.
you're going to be able to kind of approach situations.
Yeah.
But practical experience is always a key to a
it's
well-rounded
invaluable. And
man.
and that is something that's completely overlooked. What you're talking about, practical experience.
Right.
Nobody really goes in for that these days. Sometimes I shouldn't say nobody, but there's a lot of guys that read all the shit on the internet. I mean, they
Yeah, right.
see that
it's
the
easy
internet
to do
says,
that.
yeah, says this and says
Yeah.
that, and we even have problems with that on the forum.
Mhm.
Where a newbie will come in, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but they'll come in and
They'll be
say-
excited and they'll feel
They'll be
they'll
excited,
very
man.
emotional and fragile.
yeah, green as shit. They'll be fucking excited.
Yeah.
They'll love this shit. They'll lap up some article about frame and being alpha, and that everything they think about is in an alpha versus beta
Yeah.
term, and something that you do. If you're nice to a girl
Mhm.
and you open the door for her, it's fucking beta or something.
Right, or
But,
maybe, maybe sometimes you're too alpha,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
have
too
to
alpha,
just go beat up
exactly.
80 white knights at a club, or was it 30 white knights at a
Yeah,
club?
yeah, and that's like two alpha, right?
Right, that's
or you
only
might even
two
get your
alpha,
ass
yeah.
kicked, and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
might say that's beta.
Couple of black eyes, yeah.
Right.
Um,
So what a lot of the guys don't understand is, man, there's, you can't think of every single thing as an alpha versus beta thing. You gotta step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Have your self confidence. Realize who you are as a man.
It's
Be
easy to
comfortable with yourself. Be confident.
Yeah.
And at that point, you'll even if you're not 100%,
Mhm.
you might get to 50%, 60%. You understand. Here's who I am. I'm starting to realize it.
Right.
But now, if I apply the alpha versus beta mindset, it actually makes more sense to me. So if
Right.
I hold open the door, maybe I'm alpha, but maybe another guy that thinks
Holds
if
open
I
the door
hold
for a
open the
woman,
door,
he-
I'm just beta or something.
Right.
But holding open the fucking door for a girl is
an
not
attitude
a big deal.
and I think that's and we talked about this before about the approaches.
Mhm.
Doing the approaches, and I was talking about this with Snowplow the other night. Doing the approaches will give you that experience that
Exactly.
you need to apply it to situations where now this is my opinion, and some people might disagree with me. But I think that the approaches are more of just a way for you to get experience and to really kind of put this stuff into the laboratory.
Yep.
Not as much maybe a way for you to get actually laid. I don't know if I'm going to get flack on that or not, and I definitely appreciate feedback. But
No, I don't think so. I mean, I agree with you, man. Like, look, I touched on this just a little bit last time, but kind of to expand what we were talking about,
Mhm.
self-confidence, and how new guys getting in. The biggest problem that most newbies on the forum, the Manosphere,
Mhm.
have is self-confidence. They get on because they want to improve their self-confidence.
And that's coming
Girls
from
are just a part of that, right?
yeah, absolutely. And it's,
I mean-
it's lack of experience maybe, and lack of just kind of like a
Yeah.
masculine lifestyle and stuff. So I think that's a really good kind of way to bring it home there.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, they're just looking for some kind of validation,
Yeah.
some kind of self-confidence related.
It has to come from the right place.
Yeah, and you know, it has to come from the right place. But the thing is, you have the issue with self-confidence, and then you come in and say, oh shit, I found the forum.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to read a bunch of articles, right?
Right.
This is the exact same cycle I went through, so I know how it works. And I know a lot of newbies do this.
Okay.
And they say, oh shit, I'm looking at this. Now I'm reading all these articles, I'm confident. Now I'm going to approach.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they've had an entire life of things that told them that, you know, they're maybe not adequate in this way or the other.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're approaching just because they read some article.
Yeah.
But it takes a much longer time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing that they're doing what they're doing, and they don't need to stop approaching and then build their self-confidence, but realize there's a fucking gap, right?
Sure.
I mean, you got to fix that gap. Even if you are approaching, don't expect a lot of results until you really get comfortable with yourself and your confidence level.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he even says, you know, in Bang, the first 100 you might not even get anything. Maybe the first 200 you won't get anything.
Right. Right.
But after that, apparently you're supposed to, you know, you should be able to figure it out. I think.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I mean, that sounds like you think it's cool to wrap it up now, man. You think we've done justice to it
you know,
for
I don't know
tonight?
how much time we have, but
We're about 25, 26 minutes.
Okay.
Almost 27 minutes. So
gotcha. How long do you think we can go till?
if you want to keep going, we definitely can. Why don't we do that in another podcast? We can even do one right now. But
Yeah, why don't we just wrap it up and
okay. And I just wanted to say too, I think maybe we should acknowledge some of the people who sort of inspired us to do this.
yeah, maybe talk about the tribe a little bit too, right?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, you know, we've definitely gotten a lot of support from the Chicago tribe, and MoMA and Rude Boys podcast has absolutely been an inspiration, as has Quintus Curtius and Mike CF and anybody else we want to thank. I think.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to thank Roosh too. I think
Yeah.
he, I think I was PMing him back and forth. So Roosh, thanks for the support.
Matt Forney.
You know, all these guys out there, Matt Forney, yeah, MoMA and Rude Boy, like you mentioned. If you guys are out there, MoMA, Rude Boy, thanks, guys, for, you know, sort of inspiring us to do this. You guys have your own thing going on in the Black Man podcast. So, you know, we took an inspiration from that, and we're kind of starting our thing here.
Yep.
So, you know, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, and for all
And-
the feedback and everything, and we hope that you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.